Reddit user Kevin King, 1995, asks, emotions during quarantine. During quarantine, I've just been angry. Normally, I would work out during and vent it through the gym. Home workouts are just not doing it. I've tried venting it through a creative outlet while also working from home. For about a week or so, I was very short-tempered with my siblings. I've since apologized and am trying not to be short-tempered, but it's just not helping. Does anyone have any advice?
So we've got someone who is struggling with feelings of anger and not finding enough ways of coping with it or healthy ways of expressing it. Is that right?
Yes, and they miss their old gym routine. Home workouts just aren't helping them release this anger.
Yeah, I feel you there. It's not the same. Not having that added element of community, not having that added element of a place that you go that's a sanctuary for that thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what do we do instead? Well, I wish I knew more about the creative outlets that you tried, because that would probably be an arm of my answer.
Right.
I am happy to hear that you were able to recognize when you had angry expressions towards your family members, and then were able to apologize and reflect on that. I think that's really important, because we can't prevent ourselves from feeling anger, and we can't totally prevent ourselves from acting out as a result of it, but we can reflect back on our experiences. And once we recognize that we've acted from a place of rushed emotions, it takes a lot to swallow our pride and go back and apologize. So at first, I really want to just congratulate you for doing that and celebrate that you did that at all. And that you're looking for solutions for how to maybe wring out some of that anger in advance next time.
Yeah. I think it's great that you've apologized. I think just communicating about anger and accepting that anger is okay, and often like your desire to express it is not aligned with the original source of it. If you can just explain that, and in moments where you're feeling angry, this is a common recommendation, to just take count breaths, deep, slow breaths, 3 or 6, and then you can tell the person that you're experiencing anger. That's what I've got right now.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's great. I've been experiencing a lot of anger coming up for myself, as well right now. And there are fortunately a lot of ways that you can do what I call anger work, which is basically ways of expressing your anger, to just help it flow through your body more easily and keep it from being kind of stuck up inside of you. I mean, like Rob pointed out, sometimes just breathing with it, noticing it, is sufficient and a really good pathway to knowing yourself better and understanding your anger better. For me, I'll start to feel angry, and maybe I won't even be able to identify yet in the moment that it's anger. But what I'll notice is, okay, I'm gritting my teeth, or I feel this sudden heat pulsing through my body. I can feel, my toes curl. I can feel my skin start to kind of crawl. I feel this mounting sense of just irritation. And it can be anywhere from mild to severe. And so for me, sometimes just naming those sensory changes that I'm aware of, starting to become aware of, lets me know that, oh, okay, I can expect to be feeling this way because I'm feeling anger, and I can ride it like a wave and notice the ways that those physical sensations ebb and flow depending on if you're being triggered in an ongoing way. And noticing just how uncomfortable it feels to be sitting there and have anger rising up inside of you and stewing and creating this heat or this uncomfortable sort of spindly situation. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel it. So noticing that, and then starting to notice the parts of your body that become activated by it, and what actions, physical actions, might feel good as a release, and letting your body kind of just unfold to it. And what you can do, I found really helpful, is sometimes I will pick up a pillow on the couch and just like punch it, or just pick it up and, slam it back down. Anything that you can do where you are building up to this kind of like impact moment. You can slam it into the bed. You can scream into a pillow. If you feel like the anger is kind of welling up in your stomach and wanting to come out of your throat or your jaw, even just growling like this and clenching your teeth, using your body to kind of like generate an exaggerated, intense version of what it's kind of gearing itself up really to do, can help just to give you some little bit of release. And what I also find helpful to know going into doing anger work like this, like if you're going to punch a pillow, if you're going to scream, if you're going to sing to a really angry song, if you're going to stomp to your feet, knowing going into those actions that it may just be dispelling a little bit of that energy at a time. Like, I think a lot of times we hesitate to do anger work, or to release our anger because we feel like, okay, well, I'm going to yell once or twice, and that's not going to solve anything. I feel like my body wants to explode, and you're going to tell me that I just need to like yell and scream or beat a pillow, and that's just not going to cut it. That's going to be 2%. Well, 2% is bigger than 0%.
Right.
And all of these like strong emotions necessitate some kind of response, or they kind of just curl back up and go back inside us and then want to come out even stronger the next time that's triggered. So I think that telling yourself, okay, it's going to come out. It might be ugly. It might be insufficient. It might be uncomfortable. But just letting your body react. You can wave your fists in the air. You can punch your fist against an open hand. I have an electric guitar, and I was angry recently, and I just unplugged it and just kind of wailed on it to some angry music. Didn't matter what it sounded like because I couldn't even hear it. But just knowing that I had this like power for amplification, and that I was like moving my wrists in this fervent rhythmic way. And I don't know, I did it for like 10 or 15 minutes. It felt pretty good. It wasn't perfect. It didn't solve everything, but it did give it somewhere for that energy to flow.
Yeah. I think that there's other ways you could try at-home workouts than whatever you're doing currently. It could be helpful to watch a video that's fast-paced, some instructor. One of the differences between at home and the gym for me is sometimes if I'm at home, like I just get distracted by other shit, and there's more rest time in between exercises because it's such a multi-purpose area. So if you could have somebody guiding you on like a quick paced workout, you might find you get more out of it. Or putting on music in headphones, maybe if you're sharing the space and other people don't want to hear the music, and that way you can play it louder, and doing some type of jumping, headbanging, dancing, or just any kind of movement to energize yourself. And if you live someplace that you can get outside for a run, I think that would really be ideal. I don't know what your situation is with that, though. Yeah, I think that just finding some type of really activating activity, I say this a lot, but a really cold shower could be helpful too. Just it forces you to breathe heavy and feel the intensity of it, and then your body regulates back to a calmness afterwards. I feel very calm by comparison after taking an intense cold shower. Yeah, those are my suggestions.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I would add to this discussion is just when you're kind of coming down from it in the sort of cool down phase, because, you know, you're going to get really activated and you're going to, you know, run or scream or whatever. And you may have gotten to a point where you've sort of exerted yourself physically, or emotionally, but still feeling kind of unsatisfied, but knowing that, okay, it's time to kind of ramp this down and reintegrate. Walking yourself through that process gently, using your breath to kind of regulate how intense your reaction is. So slowing your breath down when you want to kind of turn the volume down on the emotions that you're experiencing, starting to move your body a little bit slower and more deliberately, maybe even speaking out loud a sort of, okay, now we're going to come back in. We're going to feel our feet on the ground again, and we're just going to allow the intensity to kind of slip out, even though we may feel like there's more to be angry about. It's time to wind down and you know, just kind of getting that energy of slowing the pace down as you go back into maybe an interaction with a family member or just for yourself, because you don't, you know, it's time to be done with it. Having those kind of those warm up and cool down periods, almost like you would with a workout, can help it just to feel a little bit more contained.
Yeah. Anger often is accompanied with a fear of hurting other people around you, and that's a good thing, because that is a risk. But if you can find some container to express these things that doesn't hurt, say that your anger is directed at somebody who you deem undeserving or unable to tolerate it without suffering, writing angry letters you never send with as much swearing and capital letters and repetition as you want. I've found that very productive and calming and like organizing. And then it allows me to sometimes deliver a message to them that is much less heated and avoids the needless insults, but I can then reread it later and realize, oh, there is something that I need to express. There's some request that I have of another person, but I don't need to say fuck 100 times. I don't need to deliver it in that tone of voice, which is less productive. Like it was important for me to express that somewhere through writing about it, but the actual thing that the person needs to hear is different from the thing that I need to say for my own sake. Yeah.
And in that process of writing an angry letter, regardless of whether you intend to send it or not, what I've found helpful is sometimes I just get out really big pieces of paper or blank pieces of paper and, you know, something like Sharpie even. And you just let yourself scribble as big as you want and let your hand sort of lose control a bit. Let that lack of control that the anger makes you feel be manifested in loose hand movements, in fervent scribbles and big, bold punctuation, and cursing and all of that stuff. And you can even, like, as you're writing, say out what you're saying. Like, it was so fucking unfair that you did this to me. Actually, any channels that you can add to that wave of getting stuff out of yourself can feel really good. And then even scribbling all over it, ripping it up at the end, those are also really sort of empowering actions to help you to feel like you're getting something out, and you're maybe, using the kind of like destructiveness that anger breeds in a way that just feels good without being actually violent.
Yeah. Well said.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Let's start our show.
Let's do it.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice. Free advice. Free advice.
I
Free
know you
advice. Would you like free advice? Free advice.
I
Free
know you
advice.
want.
Free advice.
I know
Free
you
Welcome back to Free Advice, episode 56. That's Morgan Beard.
And that's Rob Zaleski.
Yes. Morgan, do you have any advice that you want to ask for today?
Oof.
Or that you just want to give?
Just a blanket. What do you want to say right now? I think I'd like to, without going too much into it, providing a little bit of context for where we are in this moment right now and just naming some of the emotions that I'm having personally. So right now,
sounds great.
Right now we are recording. It's Monday, June 1st, and we are in Los Angeles, California, which is one of several epicenters of protests that are going on around the country in reaction to the needless deaths of Black youth at the hands of, police brutality. And this is obviously coming on a long wave of unrest and frustration and fear as far as like the political climate, and as far as the pandemic. It's a shitstorm. It's a veritable shitstorm. And you can just feel the energy is unnerving, and bizarre. And so it feels strange to not even mention that. But I don't claim to be an expert in this matter. I don't have, amazing words of wisdom to share. I just have a lot of confusing feelings, which go from anger to betrayal to deep grief and sadness to fear to anticipation. It's all of the above. And I think that I just have to keep reminding myself that it's messy and overwhelming right now, and it has to be that way in order for us to see big changes that are needed.
Yeah, I can relate to all the feelings you just said, and I don't have any advice for other people that are struggling with that. Just reassurance that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And here we are doing our thing, talking to each other, recording it, and putting out a podcast.
Yeah. I think for us, I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think it feels important to continue to model the qualities that we want to see more of, in local and global communities, which is just continuing to share our thoughts, make our voices heard, and really hold space for all of the emotions that are happening right now in ourselves and others. That's where my mind goes, because that is sort of my wheelhouse, and how I've learned to most productively deal with things is holding space for the emotions, finding ways to release them, finding tangible actions to come out of them, and just trying to stay afloat, really. On an individual level, sometimes that feels hard enough. Let alone what every other person is thinking, feeling, breathing in, and fighting.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get into questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, that
Okay,
does.
Let's do it. Cool. Here we go. Specific word 4 asks, does wearing a shirt of the same color under a shirt with a hole make the hole less visible?
It's funny because the way that question is worded and the context that we slipped it in makes it sound like it's almost like this metaphor that you're going to continue on with, does the color green really, I don't feel like green anymore. I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that. Okay, so does wearing a shirt of the same color underneath a shirt that has a hole in it make it less visible? I would imagine that it would, although I think it would depend on what color your skin is underneath the shirt. I mean, is your skin? What if the shirt color original is almost is like closer to your skin color? In which case, I don't know. And then there's the whole issue of is it casting a shadow? Maybe the other shirt underneath helps to create a barrier that eliminates some of the dimension that would cause a shadow, because that's really where you notice the hole is that light shadow that it casts because the fiber's interrupted.
Yeah. I think you want to not wear skin-colored shirts generally.
That's just some regular fashion advice.
Yeah. If the shirt is the color of your skin, might cause people to question whether you're wearing a shirt at all. Which, if that's what you're going for, then maybe don't wear a shirt. But, yeah, I think it's a good idea to wear a shirt underneath that is the same color to hide the hole. It makes me also wonder if you've considered just wearing that shirt underneath, and then you can just wear one shirt. If it's the same color, do you need to even wear the shirt with the hole in it at all? Yeah. Of course, maybe the shirt underneath has another hole someplace else, and they'd each kind of be looking out for each other.
Yeah, there's a network of holes being hidden over by other shirts with differently placed holes.
Yeah. So the closer that you can keep those two shirts, say that the undershirt is really tight and then the outer shirt with the hole in it is really baggy, if you can get them to stay close to each other so that there's not a big gap in the fabrics, then that hole will be less obvious. Now, you could do this with paste. You could do it with double-sided tape, perhaps, or even a small safety pin.
Yeah, you could even cut out a similarly colored piece of fabric and sort of patch it onto the back of the hole in the shirt. And then you wouldn't have to wear the whole shirt, and you're getting kind of the same concept, the layering concept.
Yeah, definitely. Because wearing two shirts, you might have a worse problem of unwanted sweat that could be even more noticeable than the hole.
Yeah, I wish we had some specifics on where the hole was on the shirt, because that might
for sure
dictate what other kinds of methods might be good. I mean, you could even just really own the problem and put a sticker over it or a patch that says, "Don't look under here." There's a hole. There's a real creative opportunity that perhaps we're not addressing if we don't think about humorous patches to be applied on top.
Right.
Yeah.
I also just want to point out that a shirt should have 4 holes in it. So if it's only worry about this if it's a 5th hole that's aside from the 2 armholes, belly hole, and neck hole. Okay. Well, thank you for that question. And let's do another one.
Let's do it.
No name Rentertainer.
Okay.
Yeah. No name Rentertainer says giving a gift after surgery, i.e. bad experience. My auntie was recently admitted to hospital and has undergone surgery and is in induced coma as a result. She is on the mend and will hopefully make it out in one piece and kicking. I'm not a prayer person, but I have been praying like crazy and have been sounding this little musical frog ornament, forgotten the name, because it brings good luck. I have a spare one, and I'd like to give it to my auntie when she makes it out. I see it as a good gift in itself because to me it's been a good omen and has superstitiously helped her in my eyes. Would it remind her in a bad way of her experience? Like a souvenir of something she'd rather forget? Or will she appreciate how much I felt it's brought to the situation? I don't want to give her something that would turn out to be a reminder of something bad that happened to her. Thanks. Thank you, No Name Entertainer.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts.
Yes.
First, I think that she will definitely appreciate it, and she will be grateful for having regained consciousness and that you were thinking about her the whole time, and that you were using this figure as sort of a token of hope for you. I can't see another reality. I can't see a possibility that she would be anything but sweet and grateful about it for your consideration. And I feel like it's important to say that it probably won't remind her of being in a coma because she is busy in being in a coma.
Yeah, it's not a particularly memorable. You remember the things before and after the coma, but not so much the coma itself, I guess. I haven't been in a coma, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I have no idea.
There's a couple assumptions in this that I want to challenge. That one, it will remind her of a bad time instead of reminding her of you and you expressing your love and your care. Two, that it would be bad to remind her of a bad time. Sometimes remembering a challenging experience can make a person more grateful or hearty or feel like, okay, you know what, I got through that thing. And it could be a reminder of her toughness, her resilience, her experience of things getting better. So it might not be bad for it to be that kind of reminder for her. And then a final assumption is that she wouldn't be able to get rid of it on her own, that she might not feel comfortable like throwing it away or hiding it if it was disturbing to her, it caused her distress. And that's something that I guess knowing your auntie personally you'd be a better judge of if she's the type of person to be beholden by guilt and duty to other people. But I think you can give gifts in a way that just not like asking people, following up, have you used that thing? Not like
walking around their house looking for it every time you go over.
Yeah. There's a continuum of like no strings attached gift from an anonymous person that the person didn't even know whether this was meant for them. It's just something that showed up on their balcony one day, let's say. Like, oh, did someone drop this? Is it intended for me? Having no idea where it came from. There's no obligation. Versus a gift that is more of an assignment where a person is always asking, like, hey, let me see that plant. Send me a picture of it. I want to make sure you're treating it right. That latter category is, I think, the bad gift to give. And you can give a gift and say, so you can just say directly, there's no obligation to keep this. This is something that I wanted you to have, but only if you like it or find it useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you can couch it too in a statement about how it was useful to you while she was gone and how it made you think of having hope. And I love the idea of the frog as this emblem of like her going back to kicking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that's really cute.
Frogs kick.
Yeah.
Well, they got notable legs, at least.
Very notable. And so it makes sense that this singing frog, there was a singing component to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This like singing frog is sort of an emblem to you of hope or joy on the other side of this challenging, uncertain time for your auntie. And so I think that because it's such a whimsical type of figure, I would imagine that she will probably have positive associations with it as well, especially how you present it to her. And I think that if you're the type of nephew or niece, if that's the right relationship, that cares about her this much, anything that reminds her of you is going to be a positive token in her life moving forward.
Yes. Nibbling is the gender-neutral word for nephew or niece. So, you know, I think I've brought that up before on the podcast.
Oh, you're serious? Are you not making that up? Nibbling?
Yeah. No, it's like sibling, but with an N.
Well, that's ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's really good.
I mean, it's
actually
funny.
Something that's really great.
I'm glad we have a word for that, but like nibbling is
too.
hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an aunt or uncle gender-neutral term.
Nobbling.
No.
No, that's ridiculous.
Come on. Anti-nibbling, maybe. But
Anti-nibbling.
Yeah, I think that just the act of giving a gift and that experience of receiving it, especially in a circumstance like this where it's not a tradition or expected by a holiday or something, that's just nice whether she likes the thing or not. The experience of that, I think you'll feel good about doing it. She'll feel good about you having expressed that, and it'll just remind her that you care, and that will be it'll be nice. I'm touched by this whole situation.
Yeah, me too. You could write a little note to go with it too, kind of describing your experience and maybe including some of the things that we suggested about, the intention of the gift. I think that would really round it out and help to create the kind of association that you want her to have with it too. And it's a good exercise for you as well, because you're processing a lot as well. I think that's important to remember. This is probably a really difficult experience for you and for her other close family members that are, by her side, literally or figuratively, waiting for the outcome.
I'm just realizing it's probably No-Namer-Entertainer, not No-Name-Rentertainer. My bad. You seem like a really nice person.
Yeah, we want to get that name right because you seem thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Sending all of our best to you and your family, and crossing our fingers and putting you in the prayers too.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Moving on to another question. This one's from JRS225. How do I, male 25, stop resenting my female 30-year-old girlfriend because of her sexual past? I have been dealing with retroactive jealousy and resentment towards my girlfriend, and it is affecting our relationship. Before dating my girlfriend, I was a virgin. She was not. Despite being together for almost a year, it still bothers me. It feels like I'm giving more than I'm receiving. I feel like I'm going where other guys have already gone, therefore it doesn't feel special. Knowing that other guys have been inside her is really messing with my head. I know that I cannot blame her for living her life and making decisions before she met me. I know that this is a shitty, misogynistic way of looking at things, but that's how I feel. I've never told her about this because I'm self-aware enough to understand that this is my problem and I don't want to project my insecurities onto her. I'm doing my best not to shame her for her past either. However, I can't help but feel left out, seeing as how she knows how other guys feel, and she's the only woman I've ever been with. Any advice or feedback is welcome. Thanks in advance.
I'm glad that you included the line about that you're aware that it's sort of a misogynistic hang up, but that, of course, you're entitled to having that feeling, and it's definitely one that I'm sure a lot of men share. And I think that it shows that you're trying to balance out your feelings within, the rational argument of, well, she didn't do anything to you. She is entitled to have lived her life the way that she lived it before she met you. And
Right.
I think that the most important piece of this for you to focus on is that sense of you wanting to feel more secure in the relationship and maybe you wanting to feel more sexually special to her. All of those things can be worked out and can be handled given, the facts at hand and can be teased out apart from just the sheer fact of someone else has been inside her except for you. It is possible to process your feelings and to get to a state where you can look back on that unchangeable fact and feel okay about it if you do the internal work that's necessary to make sure that you still feel special and not left out in the relationship. And maybe there are some extra little actions she could take if you shared this with her that could help you to feel included in even her past sex life versus just, sort of feeling ashamed or uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know more about when this feeling comes up the most. If you can track that, is it in conversations with her when she alludes to those experiences? Do just because you identify this as something that you dislike or is parallel to misogynistic trends, greater issues that you don't want to be a part of, doesn't mean that you have to keep it a secret from your partner at all costs. Now, I don't know their emotional patterns as well as you do, but there may be a way to own that, hey, this is something that I feel insecure about, I struggle with, or I don't like that is happening in me, but it is happening in me when you just blank told that story about that person and your sexual experience. I started to feel angry or whatever your feeling was, bad about yourself, feeling sad. That's something that you can tell your partner, and I think with the caveat of this is something that I want to work on. It's a tough situation to be in. I think that the jealousy could be pointing you towards a desire for more novelty like that yourself. Maybe you want to have those experiences, and this is the pain of the sacrifice of if you're in a monogamous relationship with this person, it means, at least for now, giving up the opportunity to be with other people and experience that range of novelty. It's a very tricky problem that doesn't make you a bad person for having that. I think your reaction to it is what determines whether you're good or bad.
Yeah. And the immediate reaction doesn't have to be perfect either, because you are struggling with, difficult feelings. And I think it's important too to calibrate the bar in terms of what do you want the result to be in sharing your feelings, to make sure that it's just, I want to be sharing my feelings with you so that we can be closer and work together on them. There doesn't have to be any sort of concrete result from sharing them. It can just be, I'm experiencing and practicing opening up to my partner about something that makes me feel really vulnerable. And that's the box we're checking by having this discussion, because the result that you sort of really want is obviously to, sort of turn back time and not have it be the case at all. But that's just not, I think coming to terms with that reality is a really important aspect of this. And I like what you said too, Rob, about what is the jealousy pointing at, and exploring for you, well, what aspect of the fact that she's had these prior experiences is what really is really triggering you? Is it the fact that she shared this important first with someone else? Are there other important firsts that you guys could share together that would help you feel a little bit more like you guys are having an important experience for the first time together? Virginity is something that is definitely way overblown as far as, the cultural narrative of how important that is, and what it means for a woman to lose her virginity, or, to be a virgin and then to no longer be a virgin. I think that there's a lot to be examined and unpacked there about, why those things exist and why we hear these cultural stories. And, perhaps some of it is the fact that men have a sort of biological response of disgust or discomfort or jealousy when that's not the case, when they're, dating someone, loving someone who has already been loved in those ways. But I think that it is important for you, to take the responsibility for what are the things that you are bringing to this equation, but then to bring that into the relationship, because at the end of the day, it's something that gets solved and worked through in the context of the partnership. And maybe you learn to reframe it as, okay, this is a challenge for us in our relationship, and how can we grow stronger and more resilient as a result of coming together to find a solution.
Yeah, I want to take something from Aubrey Marcus, who says that anytime you're playing the what makes me lovable game, there will be somebody who can beat you at that that comparison. So if you're worried that this person might be older, her previous partners were more experienced or richer or better looking or better lovers in some way or something like that, those threats will always be out in the world. You can't, short of, moving someone to a deserted island and being the last two people on Earth, there's always going to be that feeling to deal with. And what Aubrey recommends is believing that you're lovable just because of your combination of traits, that nobody else has exactly your formula. So I'd recommend thinking on what it is that your girlfriend loves about you. And if you don't understand that, you can ask for help about that. And finding ways to love those things about yourself and invest in ways to feel like you are giving yourself some of the validation that you might be seeking from her right now. And I think that will make you more attractive to her, and she will reinforce that by being more affectionate to you. And it might be a self-perpetuating cycle of solution that this becomes less and less of a problem for you. As you like yourself more and believe that you are attractive. I would recommend examining your beliefs about what it means for someone to be a virgin. Do you think that's a shameful thing, or that makes someone unattractive? And trying to examine an alternative argument if you do hold some beliefs about that making you less worthy,
Yeah. I love what you said, and it opened the door to a specific point I want to make about it.
Yeah.
Is that fear, all those fears that you cited of, am I not attractive enough? Am I not a good enough lover? Am I this? Am I that? Those are things that can be triggered in all of us in any type of relationship, because they are these common insecurities that we all have when we're confronted with just a sense of like, is this person going to find me out for being, bad on some fundamental level? That's another sweet little relic of Catholicism, or, religions that prop up virginity, or, religions that accuse us of coming to the table with original sin and having some badness to suss out. But I think there's two prongs, which is coming to terms with the fact that this is something that we all feel, and sort of challenging the validity of it. But if you do have a recurring sense that maybe there are ways where you would like to learn how to be a better lover or something like that, if you can penetrate beneath or put your ego aside enough to identify, okay, how might I get better at something like how I love my partner? Maybe what's one skill I wish I knew more about cultivating with them? And that could be something that you seek advice from trusted friends on, or something that you even just ask her and say, I've been really thinking. And you can frame it not in a way of like, oh God, I'm afraid I don't know anything about how to do this in bed, like please help. It can come from an energy of, I want to be a good lover to you. I want to be I want to be sexy to you. I want to give you this certain type of pleasure because you give me pleasure and you turn me on. What turns you on, about when I do this, or how would you like me to go about this particular, sex act, and make it something that's a little bit sexy, a little bit sensual, and open up to it being an opportunity for skill building and for deeper connection and for more physical sensation of pleasure between the two of you. It can be scary, but if you open up to, well, what are the ways that I could improve about this and gain more confidence if it's a real skill that can be developed, I think that can be really empowering. Because we're not born great lovers. There's no like secret rule book that some people have and other people don't. It's about experience. It's about listening to your partner. It's about making mistakes and asking questions and just a desire to be more attuned.
Yes. Well said.
Thank you.
I think if there was a rule book, it would be the guide to getting it on.
Good recommendation.
Yeah, that's by Paul Ioannidis, Joannides. If you're looking for a starting point of places to research things like that. And one other possibility I just want to point out is maybe you do have an internal drive to have sex with other people and not have this be your only lifetime sexual experience, and that could be okay. That could be something that leads you to exploring an open relationship with this person or breaking up with this person at some point. And those are acceptable outcomes. Those are things that people do and that may suck or present challenges as they happen, but that would be okay if you also have that desire to just see what else is out there. And you may find that it's not as good as you had hoped, or you may realize that there were these things that I didn't even realize in this relationship bothered me until I was with someone who wasn't that way, or didn't have that quality I had just taken for granted. So I generally do recommend people have experience love from different sources if they can, and get a feel for what they like and dislike before they commit to a person. And this may be one sign pointing to your desire to do that. That's just something to take into account. It doesn't mean that you need to make any drastic decisions every time that you feel jealous, but
yeah, I think it's important to just point out that there are many valid paths to go with this information that you have.
Yes.
Great.
Good. Okay. You ready to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. I'm going to do just a lazy sloth girl's question. just a lazy sloth girl asks.
Oh, I'm sure she's more than that.
Get your laughs out now because
I'm sure she's got other stuff going on. Okay, I'm sorry.
Just a lazy sloth girl says, I don't feel a thing when a family member passed away. Am I a terrible person? Hi. Before you start attacking me, please let me speak. My grandfather passed away around 4 years ago, cancer, and I was devastated. Not only did I lose my best friend, my father figure, and my grandfather, I lost the one person who believed in me. I took his death hard and heavy. I lost 20 kilos in a month, refused to talk, and didn't leave my bed. Today, if someone brings him up in a conversation, I usually have to leave before I start bawling my eyes out. My grandfather's brother passed away today, COVID-19, and I'm ashamed to say I don't feel anything. It's almost as if I'm emotionless. His death feels like a blockage in my throat, and no matter how hard I try, it won't go away. Am I a horrible person for feeling like this? Like I have no emotion whatsoever? But then, if someone starts talking about an incident they had with him, I start crying. What's wrong with me? Am I mentally immature?
Okay. I think the most important thing to say here is that there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
There is no right way to respond to death or to grief.
There's nothing wrong with this behavior. There might be something wrong with you unrelated to this. Maybe I didn't need to say that.
Good time to slip that in, Rob. Good time to slip that in. You may have other issues. This doesn't happen to be one of them.
Sure, there are things wrong with all of us. It's something that's empowering for me to believe. But this reaction is not an indication that you are a mentally immature or a bad person.
No. And I think that it's interesting because in kind of unpacking what your response has been, I actually see a lot of emotion there. You describe that there's a lump or a blockage in your throat. That's a very specific feeling that is tied to multiple potential emotions. And I think also sometimes a sense of numbness can actually be a difficulty or an incapacity to unpack a lot of overwhelming emotions. So we can't read into what that really means. And even if it was just that you didn't have that much of an emotional reaction, that would also be okay. There is no big committee out there going, well, you didn't show enough emotion, so you're fucked.
Right. I wonder if there is someone in your life who is shaming you for not being more outwardly grieving, and it's possible that that's that person's problem for trying to control you. And
and your response also does not directly mirror how much this person meant to you, or that you cared about them or loved them, or that they were significant to you. Our emotions are just our emotional responses, and they are filtered through all of the things that pre-exist in our body, that may have nothing to do with this.
yes, it could be. I don't know any of this for sure, and it may be irresponsible to guess, but I'm going to do it anyway. It could be that that you want to avoid the amount of pain that you felt from your grandfather's passing.
Yeah.
That could have been a traumatic experience that some part of you believes you can't endure again, or can't endure right now, when maybe you feel responsible for others or trapped with them, that you don't have enough space, that there's too much uncertainty in the world to also be dealing with this. It could just be that kind of overwhelm. It could be that apathy is a mask for anger. This is something Carla McLaren says. Could be that you feel nothing or numbness because that's a way of protecting yourself from something that feels like it would be unsafe to experience in this moment. Often anger could be anger at the world, could be anger at other people, anger at yourself even. So there's no right way to grieve, and it doesn't make you a bad person for even experiencing moments of joy on days where other people feel blue or want to be sad and quiet.
Yeah. I really want to piggyback off of that, because I think that is so important. Like, if anything, death shows us how short and how fragile our lives are. And I think it really underscores the importance of celebrating when things are good. And so if you're listening to this right now and there's like just grief all around you, but you're having a pretty good day, please don't let that tarnish your pretty good day. There is enough sadness and shitty feelings in the world right now. Please let yourself shine. Because trust me, you will feel shitty again. Yes. And you will kick yourself for not letting yourself experience it now, or for putting some kind of a gate on it, or a threshold. So the overall tone is like, it's okay, whatever emotion you're having. Let yourself have it and feel it as deeply as you can, because the more deeply you can engage with our human experience in its valleys and peaks, the more that you will feel like you've lived your life fully. When that time that we all don't want to acknowledge comes, and we leave these lives behind, I think we all want to feel like we lived them in a way that was meaningful. And it doesn't really get much more meaningful than riding the roller coaster of your emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know when something just comes out of your mouth and you're like, oh yeah, I needed to hear that.
That was you just there.
Yeah, constantly, all the time.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have anything else to say to this particular question asker?
No, just to be with your feelings or lack thereof as they come out, and you can. Doesn't mean that you didn't care to not be expressing grief. like other people around you. And it may be a different thing to care for your great uncle than it is to care for the people who are currently grieving. So that's another thing to look at that might also just be overwhelming. But there's a number of simultaneous emotional events happening right now. If other people are having their own reactions and sharing those things with you, that it's not just a single thing that happened.
Yeah. The other piece of advice I would like to share that just popped into my mind is maybe have some conversations with people that you are close to but did not know him, like friends, so that you have a container, someone who you can just go to and say, you know, this is how I'm feeling or this is how I'm not feeling, and just say whatever you want about it without being impacted by, oh, well, what's their impact from this person dying?
Yes.
Yeah. Just someone who you don't feel that weight.
To dump outward, like the people who are closest to the deceased can lean on the people who know them a little less, and those people can lean on people who knew them not at all. Yeah. Someone
who you know is just going to listen to what you have to say and be there with whatever you're expressing. That someone who you don't feel like you have to protect their feelings at all in sharing yourself.
Yes.
I think that's really valuable for everyone to have for processing really anything.
Right.
And you can carve out those spaces with relationships where there is more kind of emotional connectedness or messiness by asking, you know, I really want to get out some feelings that I have. Is that something that you can handle right now if I just kind of spew out some stuff? Or, you know, do you need your own space? Can you take this on? I'd like to talk for 10 to 15 minutes just about how I'm feeling without getting any sense of judgment from you. Is that the kind of thing that you can handle? And then maybe I could provide that for you. So it is possible, but it's easier to just put it with someone who you don't feel you have to do any extra emotional labor.
Yeah. Well put.
Thanks. I feel like you gave me that feedback after almost everything I said. I feel like so proud of myself.
Good.
Feel good about that. Yeah. I came into this episode as I often have of late, where I feel like, oh my God, what am I going to say to anyone? Like, what do I have to say at this moment? Like, oh my God, it's going to come out as a mess and it's not going to be helpful. And, you know, I have all of my own insecurities and judgments about giving advice to other people on topics that I'm more and less qualified to speak on. But yeah, I do always find that I enjoy digging into the meat of whatever people have going on. And I really admire the bravery and the vulnerability that it takes for these people to publish their questions online for other people to look at and help them with. And it just reminds me that we are here to take care of each other.
Yeah. And it feels good to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Please keep taking care of yourselves and each other and staying safe. And if you want to write us to be on the show or just to get a response via email, you can write us at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, we would love to hear from you. As Rob said, whether you want to have a question featured on the show or a response featured on the show, or just if you want to talk, because we read it.
We do.
We care about you guys. You guys are our community, and we want to know how we can serve you.
Well, I feel like it's time to sign off.
Sign off we shall then.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Sleep tight, and we'll be back next week.
See you then.
Bye.